Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all in crypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. We have a rather interesting one lined up for you. The market took a bit of a hit yesterday. We're going to be addressing that to start the video off. We'll be starting off on a Bitcoin chart. We'll be looking at how Nvidia, which is the largest stock in the world currently, the kind of chip makers that are going to enable the AI revolution, have earnings coming out later. And of course, that's going to have broader ramifications for the markets. We're going to be talking about that. Then we're going to be going back to yesterday's Case-Shiller report for the US. Now, the Case-Shiller is essentially a home price index. And this is showing very positive signs. Certainly yesterday you had an uptick in this. And this very much aligns with, we did a video a little while ago where we looked at housing and we looked at UK housing specifically, but I've mentioned previously how housing more broadly is going to do very well. Obviously, this is logical with interest rates coming down and more people arbitraging a cheaper money to actually put something into bricks and mortar that might provide a positive yield and kind of hedge inflation. But housing is going to do very well. And all in, why are you talking about this on a crypto channel? Well, what do you think crypto does in an environment where housing does well and generally global liquidity is on the up? It's going to be the best performing asset. That's the bet we're taking. And right now, we're very much hunters that are waiting at the watering hole for our dinner, our catch, basically, if you will. That's a really good way to look at it. So we'll be going into that and then talking about crypto sort of generally. Also looking at the fact that Sony have launched their Sonium, which is an Ethereum layer 2. Now, the role of Ethereum is very much, in my opinion, now as a security chain for other chains to essentially scale off of and facilitate whatever use cases they want to do. If you look at things like AVAX, if you look at things like Polkadot, if you look at most, I don't say most, many, certainly blockchains out there, in order to solve that kind of trilemma and actually be implemented in real world scenarios, which need incredibly high throughput, but need to guarantee that security, they are going to, or they've come up with a way to kind of tackle security on the main chain and then take scalability on other chains through roll-ups, ZKs, sharding, all these other sort of things. And Sony have certainly entered that arena. Sony, a massive company. Obviously, anybody that's into a Star, which is a Polkadot, kind of parachain at the moment, but it will become like a Polkadot project, if you will, when they move to Agile core times. There's some questions being raised there, but we're not going to digress into that. Where we're going to be starting is with, of course, yesterday's market movement. And I just really want to impress on people, like we do every single day, that the cryptocurrency market generally, certainly using Bitcoin as a barometer for it, is in an uptrend. And we have higher technical targets, certainly taking us to 151k, 130k, I think is our bull flag target. There are also potentially broader patterns setting up. We looked at Gertz analysis on the potential cup and handle pattern that is forming that could see go to 260k. If you look at miners, if you look at everything's pointing in the same direction. I want to reiterate that and try and avoid having people focus too much on the daily volatility of crypto, because it is very volatile, and how you mitigate that is by having your broader picture, your broader understanding of where the markets are at and where they're going. And if you look at cycles, they're very cyclical. Global liquidity, election cycles, Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory, PMI cycles, business cycles, they're all pointing to a very positive time ahead. Now, just because they're all pointing in that direction, there is always that anomaly. There is always that what if, but that's a dangerous place to be betting on, because the overwhelming evidence technically and in every which way is supportive of a great time ahead for risk assets, and crypto is going to be the best performer in that. We'll talk about that a little bit in regards to housing and what crypto is likely to do in the environment, and what housing signaling in regards to the environment that we're moving into. So we did have a breakout. You're never going to be given it, guys. And investing often is a waiting game. Again, we use that analogy. We are hunters right now at the watering hole, waiting for the boars, the buffaloes, whatever it is we're hunting, altcoins in this case, to really show up and perform in the manner that we expect them to. And they're very much positioned to do that. So on the short term, yes, Bitcoin has sold off, and it had a bit of a brutal day yesterday, going from sort of your 63k all the way down to 58. But this is crypto. Volatility is inherent with this space, which is why it's important to sort of zoom out, take a look on the larger time frames, and understand where we are and where we're going. You're going to get a far better perspective by looking at the broader timeframes than you are the shorter ones. I think a little bit of this, there's a couple of things baked into this. I think we still have a lot of arbitraging with people moving out of grayscale, and that is causing sell pressure. And there are days where it causes more sell pressure than buy pressure in regards to the overall ETF inflows. We do, of course, have Nvidia earnings today. Now, 28th, which is the day of August, Nvidia, largest stock in the world right now. Their earnings are going to be crucial. You've got a number of others out there like HP, obviously CrowdStrike, holding. So that'll be an interesting one given what happened with them a little bit ago. But Nvidia, I still think is in very, I'd hate to be somebody shorting Nvidia. And Nvidia was a stock that's done very well for us. It's got its earnings. It's generally bounced. This is clearly an uptrending chart. There's no signs, in my opinion, of this topping. And just because one of the worst places to be as an investor is to bet against something because it's done well. And vice versa, to bet against something because, it's 90% down. Doesn't mean it can't go 99% down. And that multiple is massive in regards to percent from where you currently are, not where it's gone from. So I think Nvidia is going to continue to do extremely well. It's been a technically very beautiful chart for us. And it's a great example, actually, of what we have, I potentially believe, ahead of us for Bitcoin. It's very similar. When you sort of break into highs, often you'll do that on momentum, which I think is coming for Bitcoin. And you'll ultimately then go on a larger trend, which I think Bitcoin is very much positioned for. And, of course, you've got to ask yourself the question, well, what does the space generally do? And we've done a lot of work on that in regards to, we think, everything excluding Bitcoin is going to be worth about 3.8 trillion. And everything outside of the top 10, I believe, is going to be worth about 2. So there's going to be some real movers in there. Certainly, we have technical targets for that, and I do believe it will actually go higher. So you're looking realistically, this bull market, I think very conservatively at a market cap in the 6 to 7 trillion. That's my take, and I do think there's a lot of scope for outperformance there. Let's talk about what took place yesterday, kind of putting a capping stone on the volatility we're seeing in the crypto markets. I think it very much has a lot to do with the angst around Nvidia's earnings. I think stocks are in a good position. Tesla I'm still very bullish on. Obviously Amazon making its way towards the $261 target we had for it. We're giving this target in the 120 range, so it's up significantly from there. And I think stocks generally in a great position, and they're going to go higher. And we had news yesterday that we had the S&P Case-Shiller's composite. We're going to be looking at the S&P Case-Shiller. Today, we do have a Fed member speaking. PMIs is going to be an interesting one. I think that comes out, certainly GDP, which I think is going to be better than expected, comes out. I think the economy is in great standing, guys. I really do. And it sounds very interesting to say that, or controversial to say that, in a time when there are undoubtedly people struggling. And that's, of course, all the fault of your government. I truly do believe that. Your own governments. But when we look at the Case-Shiller, you can see just how well this is doing. Obviously, 2008, and it's been up and away, along with, let's just put USM2 on here, because this is the great game people need to understand. You're on the wrong side. Every single person, everybody I know has been lectured by me in regards to why they should invest in something and not just hold cash. And we spoke a little bit about Keir Starmer's definition of working class people, meaning people that don't own anything, don't have savings. That's dangerous. That's not where you want to be, because then you're consistently going down a greased pole. But housing shows some very promising signs. We're getting news from that. We made that video on UK housing, and I was saying, no, that's impossible. It's not going to happen. And we're seeing movements from it. When we look at housing indexes, for example, in the we were looking at this based on a bullish divergence down here. You can see how this has progressed. We like to teach in our market mastery course. I think there's still 80% off on that, guys. Basically, phase analysis. It's a derivative, or it's a predecessor, if you will, of Stan Weinstein's stage analysis. It's a predecessor of Charles Dow's theory and Wyckoff's market cycles. This is very much altcoin-esque, really, isn't it? And now you've broken out, and you're now in an uptrend. We're getting lots of evidence to support that, which means housing's going up. We know fundamentally there's a great narrative there. What's crypto doing in that general environment? It's going to be outperforming massively, and you can get that by dividing Bitcoin and crypto by these charts. It's not just one swallow a summer makes. If you look at Vanguard, you can see this is a clear breakout on volume. They don't all look perfect. Some look better than others. This is iShares US Real Estate. This one not so great, but still showing very much signs of bottoming. This one a little bit weaker. This is a mortgage real estate. A little bit more risk in that. Obviously, Schwab. So this is US. This is UK. you can see this is primed for a breakout. Looks kind of like some of your Bitcoin miners right now, which also give us further confidence. And this is an EU housing sort of derivative, if you will, a UCITS. So what does crypto do in that environment? Well, I believe it's going to be the best performing asset that there is. And actually, let's just take, for example, just to show you this, because we've spoken about it, we need to be able to back up what it is we are saying. Let's divide BTC by this. You can see it's broken out into new all-time highs, very much been in an uptrend, supporting off of a prior resistance, breakout on volume, support, declining volume. Look at where your volume's coming in. You're finding support here. This is going to get bid and be in an uptrend against it. So crypto is going to be outperforming the housing market, which looks bullish, along with the stock market. We don't particularly have any targets now for the S&P, unfortunately, because they've all been met. But you've got this amazing time ahead of you guys, and it's very important for me as a channel to keep everybody focused on that and to kind of mitigate the volatility that we see in the cryptocurrency space. It's inherent, and this is the importance of being a technical analyst, because we've got a lot of evidence to suggest that there's an amazing time ahead. Yes, I know, guys, for the altcoin market, it's a bumpy ride. But if you've been positioning throughout that basing period, you've got what's to come ahead. Again, we are a hunter at the watering hole waiting for the lunch, dinner to turn up, so to speak. Last little thing I want to comment on is, of course, the Sony blockchain. So the testnet went live today. This is, of course, Sony's layer 2 on Ethereum. Ethereum is really moving towards... I don't think Ethereum is ultrasound money. I don't think it's ever going to practically work as a money. I think what you could make the case for is it's a better store of value than the dollar, but everything is. I think Ethereum is very much moving towards a role of being a security chain that secures multiple chains, which is very much the way that many blockchains are moving towards, obviously because scaling is an issue. Because you often, if you really want to scale, you'll jeopardize that. Solana's a great example. Even though we're bullish on Solana, we think there's issues with their blockchain. Maybe Fidancer fixes it. But this is certainly interesting. It's another major player entering the space. And you've got to ask yourself the question, if all these major players are entering the space, what do they know in comparison with what retail's generally sentiment is right now? And retail isn't here at all. We know that from a perspective of being a content creator on the crypto space. We also know that in regards to Google Trends, the largest search engine in the world. And how many people are Googling crypto? It's non-existent. They will come, guys. And you, lucky individuals, are positioned for when that takes place. The stage is set. On that note, guys, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks a lot for watching. Let's see how Nvidia's earnings come out, and I'll see you in the next one.